Yeah, thanks, Dominic. I think uh, great presentations from everyone. Always exciting to see the user side of the story because that's where the real action is. That's where all the value that that the software creates is actually realized. So I think it's really nice to hear everybody's story and always also insightful as a developer to understand from the user's point of view. So that's uh, so let me So, like we briefly discussed, and those who have been following on the forums, uh, we've said over the past year we've been trying to um, uh, get the foundation going. So, if you see open source projects, it really makes sense that the structure for an open source project should be a non-profit and not a commercial entity. And that I think that is one of the key things that will drive collaboration in the community, and so we are moving in that direction. We have registered not for profit entity. It's called ERP Next Open Source Software Foundation, but we'll just call it ERP Next Foundation. The goal is to enhance ERP Next and build a community, and it will be a platform where um, the community can come collaborate, pool resources, and also discover service providers, and basically become the meeting place for the community. And we have a template for this. There's Mozilla Foundation, you have the Linux Foundation, you have the Apache Foundation. So this is a very well understood model for software development, and that's the direction we think we should take ERP next to, because I think that will finally realize the potential. I mean, where we are today is we are at the beginning of a journey, as we see a lot of users are evaluating ERP Next, just discovered ERP Next, starting to develop ERP Next. So we are at the beginning of the journey, and where the goal is to be is where everybody can come and collaborate, uh, share their expertise like you do in Wikipedia, for example. You may be a geologist, and then you can edit the geologist section in Wikipedia, and you may be um, whatever your expertise, you may be a tax accountant, and then you can update the tax accounting section. And that is the vision for ERP Next, that we should be a platform where everybody can come in, collaborate. If I have a problem, I fix it for everybody else, and that is how we will truly democratize software for everybody. So that is the vision of the foundation. It's the same as Mozilla or Linux or Wikipedia or any of the other successful open source projects that we all know about. Initially, we're thinking we'll raise funds through annual memberships. So we'll have, I'll show that to you. And I approached a community member, Jairam, who is very active, who has around 15 implementations in Bangalore. And he's accepted that he'll be a voluntary CEO. So uh, I let him uh, do the part where the collaboration and the operational issues of how the foundation will work. So we want this to be, so this is just initially, then hopefully people who become members will then to slowly decide where to take the foundation. So again, I just want to come back to something I said in the last conference, that every good uh, so there's this great essay by on open source, the cathedral and the bazaar, that how closed source software is like a cathedral and open source software is like a bazaar where everybody kind of comes in and collaborates. And the key is that every good work of software starts by scratching a developer's personal itch. So if you have a problem, you solve it for yourself, because if you know the problem better than anybody else, and then if you're a person who can make a solution, then build it. And that is how I started doing ERP Next. When I built ERP Next for my family business, I don't think I had an explicit vision for this to become an open source project or something. That happened much later. The name, so I started writing the code of ERP Next sometime in 2005. The name ERP Next came in 2010, and I think the open source We published it on Google Code since 2008, but it only got noticed I think in 2013. So it's been a long journey. I started with something I wanted to fix. The problem that I was solving then is no longer the problem I have now. I have a different problem now. So my goal now is that I use ERP Next to run ERP Next, right? So the cloud, and that is that is what drives a lot of ERP Next development is uh, my or our team's own need to run the ERP Next cloud. That's the big motivation, and everybody here has very different motivations, and that is where we all bring in our own uh, itches and solutions. So again, just coming here, why do I build ERP Next? That's the reason I like. It helps. We do customer support. So one of the recent features we built is that when you close a support ticket, the system will send out a email asking the person who raised the ticket for a feedback rating from 1 to 5. It's because something we wanted. We close 20 to 25 support tickets a day, and I had no and as that number was growing, I had no clue that how are we doing. How are the support engineers doing. So I can manually go and randomly select a few conversations and see the quality of answers. But having a simple feedback, customer gave a rating, is so much value for us. So that is a feature that got prioritized over tax codes, for example. Because I have no need for tax codes. Just an example. So so that's how ERP Next gets built, right? Because that's what. And if you see, there is a lot of development, a lot of action happens on the Frappe side of things also, because I use Frappe to build ERP Next, and that's how Frappe keeps improving, because it's used by me so that I can build ERP Next, and that's why we keep on cleaning a lot of stuff, a lot of recent features. Uh, uh, so I cleaned up a lot of the portals. So I we so I a couple of weeks ago I built a portal for the foundation, and for that portal I realized there were a lot of the portal side of things was not well defined. So I went in and I defined quite a few things, like you can you using the doc type. Now it has a section for portal that is this viewable on a portal, and then what is the route, how do you define the route and all of that. So some of these things were very basic, and I kind of made them slightly better because I needed them. And I thought, if I ever do this again, it should be much easier than what I did this time. So that's why I build ERP Next. That's how it happens. So what really drives my vision is like, I love Apple, right? I love. I'm not obsessed about Steve Jobs, but I really am inspired by Steve Jobs and the vision of making a really simple interface to use technology. And I whether you hate Apple or whether you like Apple, you cannot deny that they have been tremendously influential in how computers, like for example, smartphones. When you had smartphones before the iPhone, you had, but the iPhone really changed everything, and it democratized technology for everybody. So the question I ask is, if Apple was building an ERP system, what kind of an ERP system would they make? And I know we are way off from what Apple would have done, but that drives me. I get inspired by doing it. So not everybody likes my direction though, right? Because somebody wants absolute timestamps, not 3 minutes ago. Uh, but so you have to take certain decisions based on what you think is modern software, you think is good design, the colors. ERP Next doesn't, the interface doesn't have a lot of colors, and a lot of people give a lot of grief, right? Anton showed a couple of screenshots where the colors were a bit different, and a lot of people do that, but that's your taste, that's my taste, so that's how, so that's how that drives my personal vision of what I want from ERP Next. If Apple was building an ERP, how they would have built, and and then you have to define what your need is. So ERP Next one needs documentation. ERP Next needs tax codes. ERP Next needs, like, whatever you want. You fill it yourself, and that is a transition. Dominic said that he did not hear this in the first conference, but in the third conference he saw the big difference. Uh, so there are many models again on how to build software, right? I mean, you have a model where uh, I'm just taking Udo as an example that if you read their blogs, they have that they want to be $1 billion company, and then that drives their decision. So we have taken it and we have, I think, consistently said over a period of time that that is not our goal, is not to build $1 billion company. So we because that's not what really interests me, right? I'm more interested in writing software, and that's what I get more satisfaction from. No, it's a different game, right? I mean, so if you want to build $1 billion company, then you have to take venture capital. You have to think about growth all the time. You have to think about, that's a different model. And then your so everybody. So that is why we are a project that is a transitional project. It did not start off like Linux completely in academics, and this is just for academics and it's open source and it's all uh, it's kind of a transition project that we started off um, uh, kind of around about started off as a personal need, then became a company, and then going into an open source community driven project. So that's the direction we want, for at least that is what I think is the better way of doing things. It's the more fun way of doing things, and it is also the most future proof way of doing things. So the most common example you get is that uh, like maybe 20 years ago, Encyclopedia Britannica was like $1 billion business. But then Microsoft came with those Encarta CDs and then wiped out Britannica completely. And then Wikipedia wiped out uh, Encarta, Microsoft Encarta. So this is the future proof, right? If this community does not come together to build such a platform, some other community will. So maybe not now, maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So that's, I think that's the right way. That's the more fun way. I think a lot of people have come here because they find they find a lot of positivity about this model, where we are helping each other. That's like a very basic human social need of being connected and helping each other, right? I mean, monetization and commercialization becomes a power relationship. I have a license, but this is sharing. This is more fun, where it's more passion driven, and that is the direction I think we should all take. That's um, that is kind of what the foundation is. And I mean, if you just see the cycle, of any, say, an ERP next, there are lots of people who need an ERP. Maybe a fraction of them end up, using ERP next. I mean, um, and then fraction of the users will end up helping other users. Fraction of the users who use ERP next, and then a fraction of that will report issues if they come across, and then fraction of that will actually contribute. And then we have people who have evangelized, like Dominic here and Anton, and all of. So basically, we have people, and then that evangelism again feeds the whole cycle. So I think we are already in a virtuous cycle in ERP Next. Over the last 2 years, we have seen the cycle, and it's just going to accelerate from here. The momentum will build itself, but we have to come together and contribute. Whatever expertise we have, it has to go back in the product in some way or the other. I don't know what is the right way. I mean, if you look at Linux, if you look at Wikipedia, I mean, these are solved problems. These are not problems you're going to solve for the first time. It just requires that kind of an intent from the community that whatever expertise I have, I will also contribute back, or at least some percentage of us should have that kind of even that does. I'm sure very few of us would have ever edited a Wikipedia page, right? But all of us use Wikipedia 100%. So maybe a fraction of us, we need just enough number from the community to contribute back, and that will create the momentum that will sustain itself. So that's the big model. So coming back to the foundation, so just again, these are just numbers out of the blue. There's no logic behind these, but saying we start individual memberships at $200 a year, and then we have gold, silver members, people, and so I'm hoping we are able to raise, say, 25,000, $25,000 in the first year, for example, or maybe $30,000. If we raise that money, we can hire 3 developers or 4 developers to kind of work on the common agenda. So members come together to define an agenda, a roadmap on how to use the community resources. Uh, Basically make a roadmap, uh, hire developers, do events. Events are great because again, face to face value, connections. I mean, those things really matter. So also the foundation will become an umbrella to maybe do events, uh, kind of give an official. I mean, events can happen otherwise also, but it might just be a good way to maybe sponsor some developers to attend other events, just to spread the knowledge. Um, and then also give an opportunity to everybody for being a part and connected with the project. So a lot of people ask us, we want to be a partner, we want to be a partner, and how do we connect? So the answer we say is, okay, wait for the foundation. So once you're a foundation, you become a member, then that is something you carry with you. You become an ERP Next Foundation member, and then it's a part of then the identity of the community. So that's also the vision of the foundation. Oops. Just the last. Yeah. So maybe that's the goal, that we start something here. We're at the making the baby steps of a long journey. This is the first step. So hopefully this becomes. Uh, so yeah. So I think we had a lot of discussions. Maybe if we want to have an open Q&A, or share ideas or suggestions, roadmaps, advice. Let's keep it an open house. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's. Yeah, thank you, Rishabh.